Internet, and welcome to my, once again, very late review for Boruto episode 66. I know this review is around 3 or 4 days late. That should not happen again anytime soon. I just had a really busy last few days at work, but now my Duke Tip job is over, and it's time to move on with not having a job at the moment. Let's jump right on into episode 66, coming right off of the heated Momoshiki fight that we had in last week's episode, with the great animation and everything I mentioned last week, and the prophecy kind of thing that Momoshiki gives to Boruto about how his blue eyes will take everything away from him, and that now that he's killed a god, he can't be an ordinary human anymore. That was all last week, and we're now moving into an episode that's very much just an epilogue to the last, 4 months of the story. Because we've been in this arc for not a terribly long time as far as, shonen arcs can go, but it's been, the longest Boruto arc by far. We open up with just some really feel-good, happy reunions that I just love to see. They were fun, seeing Hinata and Himawari be just so happy that Naruto and Boruto were home. Seeing Gaara with his kids, or with Shinki and the rest of the team was great. It was a really happy scene. And then we see some signs of Boruto's newfound maturity that we see throughout the episode as he approaches Shinki and apologizes for everything that he did in the fight. That was great. It's just what we'll see throughout the rest of the episode, as I get into it, is that Boruto is just, he, acknowledges what he did wrong, and he's going and making amends. He knows he fucked up, and that he doesn't really necessarily deserve people's forgiveness, but he's still gonna ask for it. And then we find out something that I don't think they actually ever confirmed in the manga, is that B somehow survived. I'm still not entirely sure how B keeps surviving getting his Biju extracted. I know he did it when he fought Sasuke, because it was just a decoy or a severed tail. When, was it Madara who extracted it? It was Madara or Obito at the very end of the original manga. Somehow he survived that. I guess he did the tail thing again. And did he do the tail? He couldn't have done the tail thing again on Momoshiki, because he was recorded as having gone missing. So that's something that's always kind of confused me about this arc, and honestly, the war arc, is how B kept surviving for so long. It's just still a weird thing that never quite worked, but I like B enough that I'm happy he survives. And then we head back to the Hokage Mansion, where Sasuke says he's going to go off and do some training again. As I recall, I watched this last night and I was very tired. Which was weird, because I always got the impression in the manga that after this point he just kind of stuck around the Leaf Village. Because, I'm not going to get into manga spoilers, but he's, much more readily available at this point on, than he has been before this point. But that did kind of confuse me, that he just kind of leaves. But we do get some great Naruto and Shikamaru banter, as Naruto, wants to take some time off, but he still has the mountain of work, and Shikamaru's like, yeah, you gotta do this. Their relationship is always a lot of fun. I just love Shikamaru and Naruto. They're great. And then we see Team 7 hanging out with Team Iwabe, which is always a great thing to see, especially because Iwabe and Team Sumire are both, non-manga characters. It's always great, especially throughout the arc before I started covering the anime. Seeing how they were integrated into the story. It was always a lot of fun to see. And here, they're not it's not super creative the way that they're brought up. They're just kind of they're hanging around doing missions. Though we do get some callback to that one filler episode of them doing on some public works project, wasn't it? When Metal's public works are kind of our thing, so we're helping out a lot. So it's just great to see them and see them not just be thrown under the bus. As the story moves forward, because that was very much a problem with the original Naruto. As it went on, it just started being about Naruto and Sasuke. And I hope that Boruto, especially the anime, the manga has really not done this all that much, but that the anime keeps up this kind of, ensemble cast feel that I feel always kind of works better for a story. Especially a long-running story like this one. And then Boruto and Shikadai have their apology conversation on the train, and I love that little like there's this like awkward tension between them at the start of the conversation before they both apologize, and it's just animated really well, and I just really like it. It's a cute little thing, you know. They're just kids being kids and struggling to apologize. Even if I feel like Shikadai should not have to apologize because like he was busy, like of course he's busy. The the village practically exploded the other day. So that I wasn't quite the biggest fan of Shikadai feeling the need to apologize, but you know, it is what it is. But I do. This conversation really reminds me how much I just love their friendship. They're so supportive of each other, and it's one of the things that Boruto does just the best. It's one of the favorite parts of the show is Shikadai and Boruto's relationship. Even if Shikadai sometimes comes across as a bit of a Shikamaru clone, you know, Shikadai and Boruto's relationship is great enough and just different enough from Naruto and Shikamaru's that really makes me appreciate the character. Shikamaru always wanted to be friends with Naruto, but I feel like, especially early on, they really kind of weren't just because of Naruto's intense loneliness. And seeing Shikadai and Boruto being the great friends that their fathers could have been at that age, could have been at a much younger age, is always a lot of fun to see. So then we get to the point where Team Shinki is on their way home from the Leaf Village, and Shinki has this weird bit where he's like, "I can't believe that Boruto is just some low level ninja," and that was a weird turn of phrase, given that he's the son of the Hokage. He's not some low level ninja. I mean, sure, he doesn't have the third Kazekage's Iron Sand, but he's got a shit ton of like chakra, shit ton of potential. He's not some low level guy. That was just a weird line to me that didn't quite make a lot of sense. But anyway, that's really all I have to say about Shinki in this episode. But then we get to a scene that happens a bit later in the manga, as I recall. This next scene is a bit of a flashback in the manga, where instead here we see it play chronologically, which is the scene where Sasuke and Boruto discuss that prophecy Momoshiki gave him. And in the manga, it was a lot more obvious that Sasuke saw the whole thing, because there isn't that whole interdimensional thing. I don't remember if I brought this up last week, but in the manga, it's much like Boruto like feels something on the stump of the chakra tree, and he jumps up, and everyone else freezes, and he has this conversation with Momoshiki, and then we find out at the end of the scene that Sasuke was like still awake with his Rinnegan, able to see it. Here, though, is a lot more vague as to whether or not Sasuke saw it. We did not really get that clear distinction that he saw everything, especially because they were in another dimension, and we just did not get the immediate like looking at Sasuke thing. But we do see that Sasuke saw it all, and he talks with Boruto about it. So it's nice to know that the anime is following the same path the manga went down in that regard. There are regards where it is not, and I'm going to get to that when we start talking about the stinger for this episode. Because I have some thoughts about the Urashiki scene. We're going to get to it. But then we have Sasuke just being a good father figure. You know, he's telling Boruto, train hard, and I'll continue your training. Which is, it's Sasuke's a good father figure. And then he's even a good dad to Sarada. Oh my god, I love that scene where, like, he promised Sarada he'd be home. I just so loved it. That was just a really cute scene all around. Both important with Sasuke discussing Momoshiki with Boruto, and just cute with him being a good dad to all of the kids. And then we have a scene that I have some questions about. So we cut to Mitsuki on the tree with Orochimaru, and Orochimaru specifically says that if people saw Mitsuki's Sage Jutsu, it would be beyond their comprehension. Which is weird, because they've seen Naruto's Sage Jutsu, right? He used it in the fight with Pain, and everyone who was not dead at the moment, clearly saw it. They were at the bottom of a crater that used to be the village. It's kind of hard to miss it. I mean, sure, what we saw Mitsuki Sage Jutsu in that one-off episode with him and Log certainly seemed a lot more dramatic than Naruto's, where just got like the eye makeup and that was kind of it. But I can't imagine it's stronger than Naruto's Sage Jutsu. Because, I mean, he's Naruto. Also, they've all seen, the full-on, like, Susanoo Kurama from the fight with Obito. And that didn't blow anyone's mind too much. So I don't know what exactly it is about Mitsuki that makes this such a big deal. And then we have another weird thing about this. So before this point, Mitsuki's use of the word son to refer to Boruto has always felt like a personal thing. It's like Mitsuki sees Boruto as the light, lighting his path into the future. And, or, a more romantic way if you're a Boromitsu shipper. But that's besides the point. However, in that scene, Orochimaru refers to, like, if he says something like, if Boruto is really the sun. Which is kind of, like, as to what, Mitsuki defends his almost use of Sage Jutsu and then he has to protect Boruto. And then Orochimaru says that line. Which is kind of weird, because when Orochimaru uses it, it almost seems like a technical term. Like Child of Prophecy in the original series, or something like that. Where Sun has normally just been this kind of, like, personal nickname that Mitsuki has for Boruto. And so I'm not entirely sure what to make of that. Maybe it'll become more relevant as we go on. I'm pretty sure that the use of the word son for Boruto is still in the manga, so that could be a manga storyline as we get further on into the manga story. But I don't know. It just leads to a lot of questions that I'm really curious about. And then we have what was one of my favorite moments in the original manga, the conversation on the stone faces where Boruto still rejects being the Hokage, but in a much more mature way than he's ever done in the past. Because, Sarada assumes that Boruto is now going to be her rival to become the Hokage. And Boruto's like, no, that's not my path. That's, one path that I could take, but I don't really want to. I want to be this Sasuke figure. And that is so much more interesting, I like that kind of... I mean, if you've seen my manga reviews, I really like that kind of swap between, Naruto and Sarada and Boruto and Sasuke. The idea that, like, that Boruto and Sarada are not following their parents' path and instead following the other ones is a really interesting idea, especially coupled on to all of the Uchiha prejudice from the Senju era. But yeah, I just love this whole scene. It's so good. And then we have, Sarada looking like she's got a bit of a crush on Boruto when he's all like, oh, I want to be, your right-hand man, Sarada. And her reaction is a little romantic, not gonna lie. So that's a cute thing. I mentioned in my video way back when this was in the manga, I am quite a Boru-Sara shipper. I'm not hiding that. I do think that in the future they should get together just because they're a great pair. Yeah. But then, Sarada has her excuse of why she was looking so intensely at Boruto, that his eyes are so much bluer than the 7th or something, which was a little bit contrived, not gonna lie. Just as a way to get Boruto thinking back on Momoshiki's final prophecy, which, looking at it again, it seemed a lot more malicious in the anime than it did in the manga. Like, in the manga, it's been over a year since I last read it, let's be honest. But as I recall, it was a lot more like, this is what's gonna happen to you. Sucks to suck, that's life. You're gonna have this horrible fate. Your blue eyes take everything from you, but, like, you beat me, so here's a word of warning, I guess was kind of the vibe I got. Whereas, like, here it's like, you're gonna die and it's gonna be wonderful. That's kind of the vibe I got off Momoshiki. Though maybe if someone's read the manga chapter a bit more recently, feel free to correct me, because I don't quite remember it all. And then we have what is perhaps the cutest scene in the episode, the Boruto Himawari birthday party. As Naruto comes back and does the party right, it's just a really cute scene reminding us, bookending the arc with, was it Boruto's party first or Himawari? I think it was Boruto's party first that kind of started this whole arc. And now we're back with a combined birthday party of Boruto and Himawari, as Naruto wants to not be the same, distant father he was in the past. But I'm still glad for that bit of, like, character callback, as Boruto still doesn't really trust his dad. When he still, like, punches him in the gut to make sure he's not just a shadow clone. That was a great, character moment. Just to see, like, Boruto isn't completely on, like, he's not just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna trust you nonstop. He's like, let's wait and see. Which is good. I like that. And then at the end, just like in the movie, Naruto and Boruto have their, like, connection as they go out to work. And then Boruto Naruto runs. I fucking, like, in the past, you know, there have been jokes that, like, everyone else is Naruto running, and Boruto's, like, running like a normal person. And Boruto starts running like a normal person, and then he Naruto runs. I loved it. I fucking loved it. I don't know if he's going to start Naruto running from now on. I've not been paying that much attention in the manga to what he does when he's running. But that feels like emotionally resonant. Something like him accepting the ninja as a whole, whereas, way back in the graduation exams arc, he was, like, opposed to... Like, he wasn't sure why he wanted to be a ninja. Now he's like, I am a ninja. I have a goal. I have something I'm driving towards. That's kind of, his character arc for the past 66 episodes as we've gone on. We've seen that really come full circle. Which is almost the end of the episode. And then we have that stinger, which, as I said earlier in the video, I have some thoughts on. So something about that stinger. His, it's time for me to make my move, or I forget what the exact line is. But there's something about it that makes me kind of think that... So before this, I kind of figured that if Urashiki wasn't wrapped up this arc, he'd be a recurring villain down the line, right? Like, he'd be around, he'd be, the mastermind... Maybe not above our manga villains, who for anime only people I will not spoil for you. But, a third party in this whole conflict that's brewing between everything in the manga. But something about that stinger kind of makes me think we're going to get a full-on Urashiki villain. Like, we're going to have this, Chocho arc we're getting into. Then we're going to have a Urashiki arc at some point before we move on to the next manga arc, the Imagina Bandits arc. Which is interesting. I'm not entirely sure if I prefer that. I think I would kind of like Urashiki to be a bit more recurring. He's really the first Otsutsuki I've had a lot of fun with. I found the Otsutsukis, even the Momoshiki fight was a lot of fun, but as a character, Momoshiki is kind of bland. As is Kinshiki, as is Kaguya, honestly, as is Hagoromo. Ashura and Indra also kind of just feel like, copies of their descendants, which is not how genetics works, but it is how story writing works sometimes. The Otsutsukis, I just feel, have always been kind of not the most interesting villains. Especially having Kaguya, who is the most boring villain in the series, replace Madara, who's, like, one of the most interesting. I've always thought it's been a bad choice. And Urashiki, I would like him to be more of a recurring villain than just, like, one and done, or two and done in this case. Especially because he's the first... he's the first Otsutsuki that really is fun, So I like that about him. And I hope to see him continue, and I hope his full-on arc is going to be a lot bigger than just, like, some 3-episode filler arc. I hope he's, like, a bit more of a recurring antagonist than what it looks like. But all in all, this is just it's well-written, it's emotionally resonant. It just serves as a capstone to what's really been the best arc of the anime so far. We see Boruto really come full circle in his adulthood. We do see him renounce the scientific ninja tools, which will come up again in the manga. No spoilers there yet, but, like, it is... we're not done with Katasuke, for those of you who are curious. His genjutsu is going to be important again. But yeah. So next time, it looks like we're getting back to the more fluff episodes that kind of filled in the first year of the series, that made them a lot more fun. Or, just straight up garbage if you're a hater, but we're not haters here. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I've not gotten the chance to say it before, but I'm a huge Chocho fan. I've loved her since Naruto Gaiden. I thought she was just so funny in that arc when it came out in the manga. And I've always really appreciated all the Chocho scenes. There's just a certain, like, confidence to her character that I really love. So I'm really looking forward to next week. I know it's not going to be as good as the past few weeks have been, because it's just not the same, bombastic intensity that we're going to get. It's going to be a bit more, lighthearted comedy fare. And I'm down for that for a little while. We've had, 4 months of super stressful storytelling, and it's going to be nice to see it all just kind of mellow out for a little bit. So yeah, that's really all I have to say for this week's episode. I do have the Angels of Death review and the Attack on Titan review coming up. I've not watched them yet. I'm going to watch them today and review them probably by tonight. Hopefully both of them will be done by then. But yeah, besides that, everything's coming back on track. Eden Zero should be out today or tomorrow. I still have no idea if 100 Years Quest is a weekly or monthly series, so that'll be whenever it comes out again. That's kind of everything that should be... School Live should be coming out sometime soon, too. That's not my fault why that's so late. Not really late, because always takes a while to get translated. Exorcist should be up in a week or two. week or so, not a week or two. But yeah, that's kind of this video went on a lot longer than I thought it would. We're going at the 20-minute mark. So I'm going to leave this off here. Hope you all enjoyed the episode and the video. If you did, feel free to drop me a like, subscribe, or whatever the fuck you want. I don't really care. And as always, people, keep kicking ass, and I'll see you in the future. Bye.